Paddy and Trent on CFRO 49.0 Sports Talk Radio.
Home from the armories, and I looked at the texts, and someone had said, Canada's 2-1. I'm like, great. So when it turned on the game, it was in like the 91st minute, just in time to see Suarez equalize.
Yeah.
And then it was on penalties. But fourth in the Americas,
Yes.
behind Argentina, Colombia, and Uruguay,
Yeah, like, okay, that's
for
not too
Canada,
bad. Yeah.
ahead of the U.S.
Yeah.
So
Ahead of Mexico.
ahead of Mexico, ahead of Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean,
They have absolutely
Nothing
to be ashamed of. And not only that, but to push Uruguay.
yeah.
I mean, come on.
To be
we were
to
up.
be ahead of Uruguay at any point.
Yeah.
Right.
Ahead of Uruguay is where they need an 11th hour miracle from Suarez. Like, that's
From Suarez, exactly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Good.
They're
So
the greatest Uruguayan finisher of all time. Like, the best number 9 in Uruguayan history.
we've got we had the World Cup qualification run. We came in
Yep.
first in
Yeah. In CONCACAF, yeah.
and then
But that said, okay, sure, you could say that the World Cup was disappointing, and it was. But we outplayed Belgium.
yeah,
We were
I
by
mean, it's-
far the better team. And the two teams we lost to in that group, Morocco and Croatia,
Yeah.
were both quarterfinalists.
Yeah.
We were the only team to score on Morocco
Yeah.
until they were actually eliminated.
Yeah.
And they went through some very good sides who couldn't find the back of their net, and we did. So,
Yeah, there was-
our results from the World Cup
Nothing to be ashamed of.
were
And then
very,
this,
very deceiving.
and then this, and then we get the buy-in to the next World Cup. So, and we're gonna be on home turf.
Yeah.
They've got nothing to be ashamed. We've got, all things considered, like our ratings go up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
You know, we were like 98th or something like that before the World Cup.
Oh yeah, and now we're in the top 50,
Yeah,
and that was before Copa America.
yeah.
So
So,
I'm-
now we're going to be in, getting up to the top 30.
Yep.
So
Within our own Cup Championship, Forge beat Toronto FC, and did so in, I thought, like, it was not a fluky result.
who are the Forge? Is that Edmonton?
No, that's Hamilton.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Edmonton does not have a team in the Canadian Premier League.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that rectifies in,
Well,
in
yeah.
the next couple of years.
I mean, we used to. I mean, the Drillers were a good team back in the day. They were competitive.
And, Edmonton's a good sports town,
Yeah.
right? And we've supported international soccer, like the national men's team.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, Edmonton was their de facto home until they got rid of the grass in Commonwealth Stadium, which,
Did they get rid of the grass and come?
yeah, they got rid of the grass.
What'd they do that for?
Money. It's just purely a way to save money,
Yeah.
which I thought was incredibly short-sighted.
Yep.
But
Yeah, but I mean, the saving of money, quote unquote, is always short-sighted.
sometimes, yeah. Or more often than not, I'll put it that way. Yeah.
I say often, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, okay, sure. What is Commonwealth? 60,000? It's not suited yet at this stage to as a soccer facility, right? So okay, fine, fair enough.
I always think 60,000 is a lot, but I suppose in
It is, and that's
soccer.
why it's not suited to soccer. Something around 20,000 would be more appropriate for a
Well,
national
for a domestic game,
Yeah,
for a World Cup game, yeah, it would be
Yeah.
60,000. I mean,
That would be minimum.
that's essentially what's going to be
Yeah.
housed in Berlin today.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
60,000
is minimum for a World Cup game, or say something like UEFA
Or a
or
Euro.
Europe. Yeah, yeah, like one of those. There are 3 tournaments in the world: World Cup, European Championships, Copa.
Copa, yeah.
If you're playing in those 3, then yeah, you need minimum 60,000.
I don't like what did like the English stadiums hold? They must be.
They're 60 to 100. 60 to 100. Yeah, like Wembley is like what, a little over 100.
I think so. Like, I don't pay full attention to that,
Yeah.
but it's always just been kind of generic to me that comparing like a hockey arena to a football stadium.
Yeah. So
And-
you want to pull this up? What is the capacity of White Hart Lane?
Oh, here we go.
We're just going to go some iconic parks in the UK. And we'll see what they're looking at. White Hart Lane. Yeah. Home park of Tottenham Hotspur. One of the iconic.
32,000 of the demolition. 36.
Wow, that's okay. So on 70,050, so they've really downgraded.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting. Okay, so
Oh, yeah. Look, in the 50s, it was around 70,000.
34, 80,000.
80,000. There's probably standing room only. I bet.
Now, are they still?
Yeah, there would have been a lot of that.
Okay, so it's no longer. Can you look at White Hart Lane Wikipedia? So it is, I'm assuming it is no longer. Oh, yeah, that's why. Okay, so after 2017, it's no longer the home of Tottenham Hotspur, and that's why they downgraded. Oh,
and it has a
okay, and
capacity
fully
of
demolished at the end.
62,000,
Okay. So let's go to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So, okay,
Oh, it says
6202. That's what it
62,000.
said. Okay. All right, there you go. So where does Liverpool play?
I can't remember the name, and I should know this. It's one of them.
Anfield?
Let's actually expand it a little bit. Go to
Anfield Road?
Camp Nou.
NEW?
Or that?
NOU.
That's the Nou Camp. That's
Barca.
Barcelona's, yeah.
Is it a campus spelled normally?
Yeah.
NOU?
Yeah.
Stadium in Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Largest capacity in Europe, 105,000.
Oh, wow. It's undergoing the planned increase to 105,000. So
Oh,
it's not
okay.
there yet.
Oh wow! So it's gonna be there. But that's also a national stadium, isn't it?
No.
No, that's right. It'd be
Yeah,
Madrid.
it would probably be the
Madrid.
Bernabeu. Is in
Yeah,
Madrid.
You know, it's very fitting that you have such strong feelings on that because
I was going to say, you forgot to say the hot before that.
yeah, every time Madrid and Barcelona play, it's a rematch of the Civil War.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it is.
Absolutely, it is. And that's why I have yet to step in. I've been to Spain twice.
But
I've yet
you've
to
never gone
step foot in Madrid because I won't go anywhere that has a statue of Franco in it.
Azteca Stadium in Mexico has over 100,000. I know that.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest in the world is the Brazilian national. Although that said, I think India is getting some bigger stadiums for cricket,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's growing. But trying to think, while you're looking that up, I'm going to look up what some iconic franchises like, say, Manchester United. Not a team that I support, but you cannot deny.
The New York Yankees
They
of
are,
Premier football.
You can't deny that they are an iconic franchise. So let's look up where they play.
List of stadiums by capacity. Here we go.
Narendra Modi in India. It's Cricket Stadium at 132,000. 114,000 in North Korea. I'd call that unverified.
Yeah. Also, that's not for sports. That's just
Michigan is third in the world, and that's for college. Holy shit.
Yeah, Michigan is at Ann Arbor.
Old Trafford.
Yeah, Old Trafford.
You know what? I'm going to do a trivia game.
State College, Pennsylvania is 106,000.
All these are college football.
Ohio, yeah. College Station, Texas. Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, that'd be College Station. Yeah, LSU Tigers. Wow.
Holy wow.
Knoxville, Tennessee. Tennessee, but again, that's university football.
Australian national cricket team.
Oh, yeah. 100,000 in Melbourne.
Boy, Man U's still playing in Old Trafford since 1910. 74,000.
That I respect. One thing that bothers me is that, the NHL used to have this historic
Yeah.
iconography about it.
Yeah.
With from the namings of the divisions and
Yes.
the conferences.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
And Maple Leaf Garden, Boston Garden, Madison
Yeah.
Square Garden, right?
Yeah.
Joe Louis Arena. Now they're all these corporate names. Like, fuck off.
And I really blame Bettman for that.
Yeah.
How it used to be the Campbell. Like, it used to be named after greats in the game, great sponsor, like the Prince of Wales Conference, the Campbell Conference, Smythe Division.
He's like, this means
Bettman
nothing
stripped
to
all-
Americans,
yeah.
right?
No, it means nothing to you, Gary.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to play a little trivia game. I am going to name the stadium,
Okay.
and I want, and it's all going to be English Premier.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, not all English Premier, but some big Brit names, just because we speak that language. We'll see if you guys recognize them.
I won't recognize any of them.
Tell me who plays there. Ibrox Park.
Ooh, I do not know that one. I'm going to Ibrox Park.
You're gonna hate yourself when I tell you.
I'm going to say Newcastle.
Glasgow Rangers.
Oh, okay.
Bonus points. Guess the capacity.
No idea.
50,000.
Well, that's not bad. That was Rangers, not Celtic.
Not Celtic.
Okay.
Now let's see.
Filing that away for future reference.
How does now Glasgow's like the poor city, right? Like in Scotland, at least compared to Edinburgh, right? But they can still afford 2 soccer teams.
I don't know if I'd call it poor. It's definitely the more blue collar.
Yeah.
There was the more industrial city, whereas Edinburgh was more the I guess the
academic.
professional city.
The Calgary
Yeah.
to our Edmonton,
Sorta, yeah. Or
or the Calgary to our Red Deer.
Or well, if Calgary is more of a white collar town and Edmonton was more of a blue collar town traditionally.
Yeah.
But again, that's changing, right?
You,
Go ahead.
at some point, I can, from a folk fest perspective, when the Edmonton Folk Fest was looking at expanding the beer garden, I was given a pass to the Calgary one and sent down there because they had just expanded theirs. Because I was the beer garden security manager, so I went down there and I experienced their beer garden, and I was blown away. And this is the difference between Calgary and the white collar and the blue collar, as near as I can tell. Whereas here in Edmonton, we had to have like basically a no man's land of between 2 sets of fencing to prevent people from jumping the line and getting in, and people smoking inside our beer garden and stuff like that, and having this massive security team that had to monitor what was going on in Edmonton. I got there. They had 1 set of fencing. It was 3 foot high. In Calgary, the people were just incredibly well behaved. Like there was no smoking inside. And I was like, oh my God, our people, our patrons would just eat you guys alive. Right? Now it was quite an eye opener. Like and that's all I can put it down to is the white collar versus blue collar.
That's unfortunate for us.
Well, it
don't know.
always helps to have perspective and context.
I
Yeah, but
kind
it's
of prefer the rowdier reputation, but
I don't. Well, like we're
Unless you have to
town of
police
law
it.
break
yeah. Well, from your point of view,
scofflaws
I'm
and-
sure you'd much rather deal with the Calgary crowd than the Edmonton crowd.
Yeah, like I don't want to be a bunch of city. Yeah, like we cheat. We're scofflaws. Yeah, that's something we really build a civil community out of that. Because again, if you're going to jump the fence, and you
Yeah.
know, to get into what other laws are you going to break for your own selfish benefit?
Yeah, I know.
Probably others.
I get conflicted on it because you're right. Like you need a society where individuals respect the right of other individuals.
Yeah.
Right, more than anything. But then I always think most laws are fucking stupid, so break them anyway. But,
Well, no, it's
yeah, it's the lack of respect is kind of the problem, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I always tell my people, you know, we've now got an open festival, so there's no beer garden security specific function. So I'm part of the greater, we call it liaison. In fact, I think we've gone from security to liaison. Now we are festival safety, which I think, you know,
That's ominous.
well, and I think from a liability perspective, everyone's going to be expecting us to know every single member of the team to know how to do first aid, and that may or may not be the case, right? So,
Doesn't that make you all go take first aid before?
well, that's probably not an expense they're going to take on, right? So but again, it's this ridiculous thing we have going on nowadays as a society to get caught up in the words.
How big is the security staff?
Our security staff this year, full team we've requested 190. We'll probably end up, including no-shows, it'll take us down to somewhere between 170 and 180.
Yeah.
And not all are on duty at one time.
Yeah.
Right.
But even to bring in a traveling roadshow instructor, that's still a lot of money to train all those people in first aid.
Yeah.
In standard first aid.
We probably have half of that max on duty
Yeah.
at any given time. And that's for a patronage of about 30,000.
Yeah, but even half of that is like for a regular first aid course. That's probably 3 courses just to do half, right?
Yeah.
Like 3 classes.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Just trying to think. First day class I was in was probably like 23, 24 people, right? So,
yeah, and that's pushing it because you
Yeah.
want to be able to have the proper ratio of like with any course.
Okay,
All right, we're back.
stadium trivia. I got a few here, just only 3 or 4, and then we'll move on. St. James's Park.
That's Newcastle.
Oh, he nails it. Okay, bonus points. Capacity. Get within 10,000.
Newcastle, 62.
52,350.
Oh, I was within. I was
was
within
within your
10,000
10,000.
by 700.
Stamford Bridge.
Chelsea.
Yes! And capacity. This one
that's-
will surprise you.
Really?
Yes.
So it's going to be low then.
It is. Yeah, it's on the lower end.
33.
43.
Almost 40 on the
Oh,
nose.
no, 40 minutes.
Anfield Road.
Liverpool.
Capacity.
I've actually been there. I don't know how to guess it. And that was in 88, so it's been a long time. But 55.
60. Going through these,
Yeah.
almost all of them are 60.
No.
Yeah, like within the Premier League, they hover right around 60.
Do they have Carrow Road in there?
Carrow Road.
Who's that?
That's Norwich City. Now, they're not in Premiership. They're the league.
Division 1.
They're the league below. It's not called Div 1. It's called Championship League. English Championship.
Some of the best fan experiences you're ever going to. The Canaries.
Yeah.
They're not in the Premiership anymore.
No, they're not Premiership.
That's where Craig Forrest played for years.
Yeah, that was my hometown when I lived in the UK as a kid. So nominally that's my English team, but they're always mid-table second division. Every once in a while they poke their heads back up into Premiership and
Yeah, just get a cup of coffee.
it's like
27,244.
yeah. So those are the two stadiums up. Well, I lie. I went to see a Reading game back in the day, but
Okay, and one last.
yes.
If you're a rival or a great rival of the Canaries, who plays at Portman Road?
Hang on.
Sorry, this is the one I think Craig Forrest played in.
Oh, if it's Craig Forrest.
I think it was this one.
Ipswich Town?
Ipswich Town. One of the greatest logos in all of football. Capacity 29,673. Another team that would, will pop up into the Premier League. Every now and then, but struggles to stay there.
You don't see them as often as the Canaries.
Yeah. Right now they're in the Premier League.
Are they really?
Yeah. They got promoted from League One in 22-23 and then 23-24
Stayed.
EFL Championship. Yeah. So now they're in the Premier League.
Oh, interesting. Well, good on them.
I do kind of like that concept of promotion and relegation.
Yes, I think the NHL will benefit from that a lot.
Yeah. I think the game would, but not the bottom line. So, mind you, North American sports is based, let's say American sports is based a lot on, and hockey I'll throw in there, although the evolution was parallel, not from the same wellspring, is based a lot on a controlled supply of players coming in through the draft system.
Yeah.
Either through the NCAA, which is kind of a training ground for basketball and football, or say junior hockey, which is the training ground for NHL.
Yeah.
And so by having that single source of new players for all three of those sports makes it controllable by a draft. And so, you can, how would you say, level the playing field somewhat through that draft mechanism. Whereas football doesn't have that. You can draw players from all over the world. The world is your source.
Yeah.
So you cannot use a draft as an equalizing mechanism, between your teams. So you kind of have to use a promotion relegation system. That's the only really way you can.
It would be funny to me, at least, if the bottom 5 teams in the NFL were like, you're in the CFL now. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but there's so few teams in the CFL, you couldn't quite do that.
Or
It
like
would be
say you could do that in the US. You could set up a Div 1, Div 2
Yeah, yeah.
NFL. You could easily, where you have smaller cities like say Shreveport,
Yeah.
or Milwaukee, that would be able to compete that they would support a Div 2 franchise.
Yeah.
And then the bottom.
But that would introduce a lot more drama
It does.
to
It
sports,
does.
right? Like,
It's-
like if your team is on the bubble.
And that's what makes it interesting. Like consider the experience of Calgary in last spring in NHL hockey. They're out of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're done. Like Ottawa, Calgary, they're not in it. There's absolutely no reason for their fans to get engaged. There's no reason for their teams to come out. They're just going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But when you have a relegation battle, like Trent, how many times have you seen where the relegation battle is just as exciting, if not more exciting, than the battle for the championship?
Well, and
So would you think like you create another postseason, like a postseason for the top is the
Yes.
Stanley Cup, and then a
Well, that's
postseason for the bottom
what's-
is the relegation battle?
That's what most European systems do.
Yeah.
And, while that goes on, I'm going to silence mine. Where you have a playoff series where the bottom 2 or 3 teams in your Premier Division or your top division then go into a playoff with the top 2 or 3. Usually it's 2, I find. And you do a round robin 4-team tournament. And then the top 2 teams are going to be promoted next year. And then the bottom 2 teams are going to be relegated. And oftentimes it's kind of anticlimactic, where the teams battling for promotion don't quite make it, and they have to go back down. And then the 2, say, all called premier teams stay, but it's not always the case.
Yeah.
the way I haven't paid that much attention to it, but the way I've usually seen is the top team of the lower league automatically gets up there.
Yeah.
And then it's like the bottom 2 or 3 of the upper league play the bottom, the next 2 of the bottom league for those other 2
Is that
positions.
the way England First Division works?
I can't exactly remember. Now, for an interesting viewing experience.
That would be a great mechanism, because now it gives that top, puts teeth in the championship of your Division 1.
Have you heard of Welcome to Wrexham?
Yes. Yeah.
I actually watched season 1 of that. Now, what
That's an
pisses-
Apple, right?
No, it's on FX,
Oh, okay. So
right?
Oh, it's
Season
probably on
one-
Disney Plus. Then.
FX. Second season is Disney Plus, which pisses me off because on FX I can watch seasons 1 and 3, but I can't watch season 2, and I want to see the experience because at the end of season 1, spoiler alert, folks, they don't quite make it.
Yeah. Would you like my Disney Plus login? You'd be like the 13th person to have it. So.
You didn't hear that, folks.
Oh no, Disney Plus doesn't care.
Oh, yeah?
Like
Good.
when I log into Disney Plus, there's a screen of all the different profiles.
Oh, yeah?
And it's
like
and there's
13.
There's 8 of them on there. Right? Like, it's not 13's an exaggeration, but there's 8 of them on there.
Oh, interesting.
Anyway, so yeah, they come close. Like they're in Div 2 or Div 3, aren't they?
No, they were outside the official league system. They were like
okay,
basically
they were an amateur.
yeah, except that they are professional, but they're just outside of what's technically the
Okay.
league system, right?
Okay, and so this is probably why that actor could afford it, because they would have been a lower value team, and so that's when he.
Well, it was
Oh,
2 actors.
Ryan.
It's Ryan Reynolds and
Rob McIntyre?
Rob McAnally,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
right
McAnally.
from Things Are Always Sunny in Philadelphia. or
Okay.
whatever,
Right.
Like, and it is a fascinating journey. right?
Reynolds is probably could have afforded a much more expensive team, but
I think
because
he wanted the experience of building.
yeah, no, I think so. I think he's such a keen marketer, right? Like he does things like his like the
Aviation
money he
gin.
makes, the gin company,
Yeah,
the phone
yeah.
company, all these things.
I
and
didn't know he was that diversified.
Oh yeah, he's really diversified, and he does, and like he rents out his YouTube channel basically, right? Because he'll do most of these marketing things on his YouTube channel. So he will do a promotion for you, and it's just like a 4-minute ad or whatever thing, and he does it, and he's
And he's Ryan Reynolds.
And
right?
he's
So
Ryan
He's
Reynolds.
got that tongue in
Incredibly-
cheek going all the
he's
time.
funny.
incredibly charismatic guy.
charismatic and funny,
Yeah.
right? And he's figured out how to make money
that's
in
really
the modern
interesting.
social media environment. He's,
Yeah.
Well, but
and not piss people off.
Yeah.
Right?
the reason they chose Wrexham is because they had
Because damn near
they
killed
have the oldest. They actually have Wrexham has the oldest stadium in the world for
Really?
soccer.
Oh wow.
Right?
Wow.
And they used to have this flourishing team up until I don't know the 60s or 70s or something. And then they had a series of owners
Yeah.
that fucked them over.
Yeah.
They
Bad management.
They wanted to actually tear down the stadium and use the land for whatever other purpose, like and sell it and just make a massive profit, right? And somehow politically people managed to prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, the team had sunk to such a
Right.
low level. So Ryan Reynolds, and then they came in and that's part of that first season journey is just realizing how important the team is to the community.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. And they wanted to revitalize that. And it's actually a really, really fun go. Like the people they choose to manage, the people, the players they choose to bring in, and what they do to convince them.
Yeah. I'm going to say that there's kind of a broader cultural phenomenon going on here.
Yeah.
First of all, there's the growth of soccer into the sports mainstream in the United States with MLS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my other question is like, how much does Ted Lasso have to do with this?
That's my other point.
Right? Like,
I've yet to watch any
100%.
of that, but I don't have to because I already give a shit about soccer. Right?
But
yeah. Well, Ted Lasso's just
Ted Lasso's not really about soccer. Though.
No.
It's about
It's just soccer is on the periphery, but
the
yeah.
value. Yeah, it just happens to take place in the
Yeah, it could have been a football
background.
team. It could
Yeah,
have been a
could
race team.
yeah,
It could have been
exactly.
something. But yeah.
Ted Lasso, I think, is a story about the value of human relationships.
Yeah.
and how human relationships.
You should watch Ted Lasso. Just
I think you would like. It's very heartwarming. Very
Yeah.
heartwarming. Yeah, and the importance of being a good person, and how that will sustain you through good times and bad.
Yeah.
But it takes place in the background of an American gridiron football coach somehow gets hired to run this down on its heels
soccer team.
football team.
Yeah.
Yeah, like soccer team.
A Premier League team too.
Yeah,
As well.
and of course he knows nothing about like. I thought this was when y'all said this was football. I had a totally different idea. But he's just a great guy.
Yeah.
And so everyone wants to play for him because he's such a great guy. And that's kind of the background of it. But it did introduce kind of a culture, like those intricacies and those really interesting concepts of British football culture, the positive ones. Like, we're not talking about the hooliganism, but like how there's something unique about British football in those Div 2, Div 3 communities. There is a sense of identity and belonging between those semi-pro franchises and their communities.
Yeah.
Which is it's starting to be jeopardized now in the age of mass media, but it's an incredibly unique and compelling feature of British sports culture. And Ted Lasso kind of introduces an American audience to that.
Right.
No.
And so then along comes Wrexham, and people are saying, okay, I want to know more about this, how teams identify. And that has then spilled over into following of the American men's national team and Major League Soccer franchises.
Right.
I saw a really, really interesting statistic a couple of years ago, about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Not the last World Cup, but the previous one that Germany won.
Okay. 2018. Yeah.
Yeah, more people in the United States watched that game.
No, 2018 was France.
Or, okay, even before that then.
So it must have been 2014.
Yeah, this is a while ago. Which makes it even more impressive considering how far back it goes. More people watched the final of the World Cup than Game 7 of the World Series of Baseball.
Really?
In the United States.
In the U.S.
And that ESPN considers soccer to be their number one product for Gen Z.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That Gen Z is watching more soccer than they are the other big three sports.
Well, I
Or
mean,
big four.
when you look at it, when you've got Messi and Ronaldo, that makes it possible, right?
Well, it's global.
Yeah.
There's a global following of it. There is the influence of the Latino population in the United States, which has introduced soccer to a broader audience, and it has a unique fan culture that other sports do not have. In that football, even in North America, particularly in North America, it's interactive.
Yeah.
In that there's singing, there's chanting, there's like this was something I found really compelling about FC Edmonton games when I go to it. In that in the first couple of years, before it kind of got dumbed down, but in the first couple of years, there would be a group of say 7 or 8 fans who were friends, away from the games, and they would collaborate and they would create a song of praise directed towards a particular player.
Right.
And they would put it to the tune of, say, The Longest Day or Go West by the Pet Shop Boys, some well-known melody that everyone can pick up on. And they would create their own lyrics. And then when, say, a particular player does like, for example, his name was Ilya Schreiber. He was a Dutch person that came over to finish the last couple of years of his career. And he would make a play that they really enjoyed. These 7 or 8 guys would start singing this song of praise for Schreiber. And of course, it was very simple lyrics, so everyone could learn it very quickly.
Yeah.
And within a short matter of time, 75 people, all in this one sector, by the second or third game, they all know it.
Yeah.
And so everyone is singing it in union. And so it's a much more interactive form of sports entertainment than you would get. Like you can't, everywhere else in North American sports, it's generic white noise.
Yeah.
Where there's not that direct participation.
Let's go Oilers.
Yeah, it's generic and mindless.
Yeah. Or let's go Panthers. It's the exact same thing, right?
Yeah, it means nothing. Whereas you can single out an individual player for praise. Likewise, you can single out an individual player on the other team for condemnation or ridicule. And that's what makes it so compelling in that interactive means of the game. When the other team scores a goal,
I was going to say, in the defense of hockey fans, Draisaitl was probably a lot harder to rhyme than Shriver.
That's true. Yes, that is true. Other things like, say, when the other team scores a goal, the home fans sing "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life" by Monty Python, right? So there's a humor, there's or chants, like when you're losing, you're down 2-0, it's like, let's pretend we scored a goal, let's pretend we scored a goal, and then cheers for absolutely no reason. But in a way, that's also kind of a message to your team saying, boys,
Well,
pick
there's
it up.
there's no question, and I agree. I mean, the first game I remember going to see really was Liverpool,
Right.
in '88
In the Cup.
And I just remember being, there was this football match going on,
Yeah. But
but it was just getting caught up in those people, and
yes.
I was in standing room only.
Yeah.
And just stand there and just watching and kind of relishing that. And that touches on what you're talking about, that fan experience. And I went to see an FC Edmonton game down at Clark Field.
Yeah.
And it was like being at a high school football game, right?
Right.
Like it's just the bleachers and, a couple hundred fans on one side of the field, and that was it.
Yeah. Clark is really a depressing high school stadium. Like, it's not a professional arena.
But there was that element of what you're talking about. It was the Edmonton small scale equivalent of that European soccer experience. And that in itself can become, in a microcosm, it has the plus and minus of what can be just people together, crowd behavior, mob behavior, the joy of the mob, positively and negatively, right? Like, there's been nothing in my life almost to equate with being in Commonwealth Stadium for a U2 concert and have the whole crowd singing "I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For" together. Right? It's amazing. It's joyful.
Yeah.
At the same time, groups of people, they can feed off each other in the same way in a very negative fashion.
Sure. But nobody wants that, right?
No, but it's
that joy is one of the reasons why we partake in sport.
Yeah.
And I think you can get that mass joy in a football stadium or at a football game, a soccer game, in a way that other North American sports have evolved.
We'll never
deny that.
We'll never. And that's why, in particular, I wait every 2 years for the Euros or the World Cup to come around.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, who are the teams?
Yeah.
How are they grouped? Right? You have this anticipation. You're just looking at what are the groups. What's the group of death? Who's got
the infamous group of death. Okay, so
who's got
the three people who are listening to this podcast, you've met one of them now, who might not know what a group of death is.
Well, so for the Euros this year, the group of death was Spain, Italy, Croatia.
Oh God!
I mean, these are all finalists and semi-finalists in World Cup and Euros.
So, but what is the concept?
You need to define.
Define it. For a guy like Steve who doesn't know what a group of death is.
Yeah.
And Albania. Okay, so
Poor Albania.
before this year, you'd have 8 groups of 4 teams each, right? And they're generally ranked so that within each of those 8 groups, you had one of the top 8 teams in the world.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so they seed it so that the top 8 teams or the top 8 teams in the tournament are not in the same group.
Right. Yeah. Generally, it's kind of set up that way, but and then you have a second tier team, a third tier. It's set up so that there's
supposed to be a draw.
There's one of the cream of the crop, and there's one second tier team, one third tier team,
and then 2 other whoever's.
Yeah. So.
And
that's us, but just the way the drawing system is set up.
It's done by a random draw, a lot like a lottery, where they'll have like the balls tumbling in the machine. And the draw is a huge part of the drama.
Right.
Where they say, okay, here are the seeds in each group. And then they weight it so that the second tier teams, if you're picked in one group, then you cannot have another second tier team in that same group.
Right.
Like all the other guys get separated or whatever. But the way it works is there's always one group which just gets stacked. I mean, that's just the way the random sampling works.
Right.
And so,
So this year,
called the group of death.
Oh, okay.
So this year it was Spain, who are one of the top 5.
Yeah.
Italy is generally one of the top dozen. Right.
They're always one of the top teams.
Croatia is, one of the top 10.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
Now they're getting old.
Yeah,
right?
their greatest generation is starting to fade from the stage, but they're still.
And then the poor. From the outset, the ones we were looking at going Albania, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well they're screwed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other question becomes, okay, who's going to be the entertaining team? Who's going to be the dark horse that comes in here, kicks ass, takes names, and just are going to be the sweethearts of the show?
Or the team, that just gets lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Canada did in Copa.
Right.
Yeah.
So, strangely enough, this year you had the group of death. You're kind of like, I'm a Spain fan. I'm like, I don't like Spain's chances, right? Well, Spain kicked ass, went all the way through. Who's the other team that did well? Albania.
Yep.
Right. So, and the other dark horse that made it interesting this year was Georgia. And their first time ever.
Yeah.
So not only was it their first time at a major tournament, but they actually made it out of the group stage.
Yeah.
So that's well, and you know that people around the world are watching this.
Yep.
And it is a beautiful game. That's why they call it the beautiful game. And it's so you try and watch as many games as you can, even though you don't.
Yeah, you may not be following.
You're not emotionally invested in any of the teams, but you're just like,
it's very compelling.
So,
and football is so perplexing in that it is, out of all the sports that I know of, it is the one where I think it is the hardest for any one particular player to dominate.
Well, usually.
Yeah, in baseball, a pitcher can dominate the game.
Yeah.
In gridiron football, Canadian or American rules, a quarterback can dominate the game.
Yeah.
In ice hockey, you can have a particularly gifted forward or a goaltender who can dominate the game. Even the greatest footballers in the world, like guys like Ronaldo, Messi, Socrates, Pele. I don't know why the Brazilians like single-named guys so much, but like a Johan Cruyff or a Franz Beckenbauer, all of these guys, the greatest players in the world still could not just put a team on their back and just will the team. It defies that. It's the ultimate team game.
Well, and I agree, and that's and that to me is where you get to the difference between Ronaldo and Messi, and you know, it's always pissed me off,
which was clearly demonstrated this year.
Oh yeah, and at the World Cup, the last World Cup, right? And and it's not to take away from the fact that Ronaldo is one of the 10 best players to have ever played the game.
I don't
right?
think he is now,
but
and that showed.
I'm sorry, he's just not better than Messi because he is an individual player,
right?
And it showed itself this year, in particular this year.
Yes, he was so selfish this year. Oh my God,
he was.
Whereas Messi magnifies the players around him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, we saw it in the World Cup. You know, some of the plays. He's a playmaker.
Yeah.
So. What I love about Messi is you can go on YouTube and you just type in the name Messi.
Yeah.
And you'll come up with two sets of compilations. Yeah. One is, Messi respect. So the things he does with and for the fans.
Yeah.
Which is just outrageous, right?
He's an amazing, he's probably the best ambassador for the game since Pele.
And so to me, he defines to me what the word greatness means. Greatness is a combination of excellence and humility.
Yeah.
And so there's that. But he's a team player. Yeah. There was, when they were playing in the final against France, one of the goals was Messi sets it up.
One of the greatest matches in history.
He passes it on the far right to the center right.
Yep.
And then I think that was McAllister. Mm-hmm. McAllister sees Di Maria on the left, wide open. Yeah. And he passes it to him, and Di Maria kicks it. But you know that Messi saw both of those moves and set up the play. Yeah. Messi is a team player. Yeah. On top of which, the individual, again, just Google Messi's greatest plays, and the ridiculous, he will deke 6 players in a row.
Yeah.
And it's just mind-blowing to watch.
Yeah, his dribbling skill is the only guy I would say in history who is as good a dribbler as him is maybe Georgie Best at his prime.
Oh, interesting. I never really paid attention to Georgie Best. To me, he's a footnote of history.
He's before my time. But, you look at some of his, before he drank himself right off, but he was a troubled guy. Yeah. But when you look at him in his prime, old footage of George Best in his prime, then he's
interesting.
He's on par.
I'll have to go check that out.
Messi. The other thing I'll point out that makes football so enticing is that the better team only wins half the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be far and away the better team, and the best you can hope for is 50% chance to win.
Right.
It's that cruel of a game.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what I think makes it so magical in that everybody's got a puncher's chance.
No.
Albania goes into that group of death, they still got a chance. I mean, a real chance. There's absolutely, this is why playing the odds in football is so crazy. Like that octopus in the aquarium in Germany has a 65% prediction rate, because the game is so unpredictable, and that's what makes it so magical for fans.
I remember Jack Benz was a big NFL fan, and one thing he always preferred to say how hockey is run is he always thought there shouldn't be championship series. There should just be games,
like a one game call,
and
that is the magic of gridiron football.
Yeah, right. It's one game and that's it.
Yep.
For all the marbles.
Yeah, because in a best of 7...
Because any team can win any given game,
exactly.
right?
The best of 7, it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
generally,
that the better team will.
yeah, and yeah, that's the truism, that the better team is going to emerge in a best of 7.
Yeah.
But that's the magic of a one-game winner-take-all.
Yeah, it's just way more dramatic.
Yeah.
Along the
How
same lines,
good are you right now?
This instant.
Not, over the long haul.
Yeah.
How good are you right now? And
along
yeah,
the
that's
same
great.
lines, what I actually like is again going to the European football or the football model, which is a home-at-home series.
Yeah, I like that too.
And you get one game each on home
Yep.
turf, and then
Total
it's
goals.
and then it's based on away goals if there's
Yep.
if there's
If there's a tie. Yeah.
Right.
Away goals. So, like, just again, for anyone, the 3 people in the audience who may not be familiar with it, if, let's say, Trent United is playing Paddy FC, and it's we play a game and it ends 1-1, but Trent United was the away team. If the next game is a 0-0 draw, Trent United's going to go through because an away goal, in the event of a tiebreaker, goals scored on the road count
Get more
double.
than
They count double, right? So let's say if the game 1 ends 1-1, and then let's say game 2 ends 2-2, then say
That's a tie. Then, isn't it? No.
it's still tied. But say, like, let's say we go to
whoever got the 2 goals
Whoever got
away.
the 2 goals on the
like
road
let's say
wins, yeah.
on the return, like we're playing in Trent. Was it Trent FC?
No, it was Paddy FC.
Paddy FC Trent United. So we go to Trent United Park. What's the name of your stadium?
It's Che Guevara.
Yes. Oh yes. So we go to Che Guevara Stadium.
No. It wouldn't be Shade. It would be what?
It would have to be,
It would called
or La Pasionata.
Campo Nuevo or Campo Guevara or something like that.
Campo Guevara. Yes.
Actually,
Okay.
La Pasionara is actually
okay.
a much better one.
Okay, so there you go. So La Pasionata, Stadio Pasionata, and let's see, Paddy FC. It ends in a 2-2 draw because
I want to know what Paddy FC's home stadium is. It's something road, right?
no, it's going to be some. It's going to be Von Mises Park, or Klein Stadium. I don't know.
Klein Stadium. Oh my
Thatcher Road. I don't know. No, it's not going to be as good as Che Guevara Stadium. I'm sorry, it just won't.
Hayek Road. I think.
Hayek Road, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but everyone will think I'm talking about Selma. Which
Well,
is
that works out for you.
Could be
okay.
worse.
yeah, it could be worse. So anyway,
Opens doors.
opens doors, makes friends. So anyway, because Paddy FC got 2 goals on the road, like,
Right.
so each team has 3 goals.
Yeah.
But because one team has 2 away goals,
Yeah.
they would go through.
Right.
And yeah, that is a fun mechanism. I like that too. But something else. Okay, now that we're on the topic here, I got to ask you guys, why did FC Edmonton fail?
Oh, I haven't been paying enough attention. It's lack of interest, right?
Was it lack of interest? Or was it... I mean, again, how can you... I'm going to be devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
How can we look at how Edmonton supported the women's World Championships games that were in Edmonton?
Yeah.
Look how Edmonton has supported the national team.
Yeah.
The last example, how we filled that stadium for a historic 2-1 win over Mexico.
Yeah.
And again, I have never ever witnessed in my life a win over Mexico. Like, that was a mountain to climb. But Canada, like Edmonton, filled that stadium. And it wasn't, and this has always been the big problem for Canadian men's national team, playing in CONCACAF, when we put our games in Toronto and Vancouver. The sad joke used to be that Canada always plays on the road.
Right.
That when we would play a Latin American team, like Central American teams in our group, or the Caribbean teams, we'd go play in Toronto, and all the fans are cheering for the other team.
Right.
And so then they started coming to Edmonton to play in Commonwealth because of its superb grass surface.
Yeah.
So even then, even though we were only putting maybe 20,000, 30,000 fans in the stadium.
But it was a
and
home game, kind of.
It was a home game atmosphere.
It depends. I mean, I remember going to a friendly against Scotland.
Yes.
And,
It was all Scottish fans.
It was all Scottish
Yeah.
fans. So,
So it wasn't a hard rule.
yeah.
But Edmonton did have that. It was one of the few places you could go where they could schedule a game where they were going to get some fan support. And then gradually over time, that started growing to 40,000. And then it started picking up across Canada as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think you have the same problem in Canada now. If you were to go to
Well, no, not now.
BMO Field in Toronto, yeah, it would be all red and white in the stands. Now,
To me, you've got a confluence of two things, to answer your original question, which is you've either got a downward spiral or an upward spiral. And that involves a couple things. You got fan base interest.
Yep.
Right? Which is also going to be dependent on what other distractions they got
Yep.
going on. So if you got the Oilers, if you give a shit about the CFL,
yeah, and a lot of people do.
then there's the NFL. Like, how much is that distracting from things?
Yeah, you've got competition.
How are
for
the Raptors
entertainment
doing?
time.
How are the Blue Jays doing? Right? So there's all that stuff. So that's fan base.
Yeah.
The other is ownership.
Yes.
You need an ownership that is kind of in it for the intangibles.
Yeah.
At least at first. And they're going to go, I'm going to build a team here. I'm going to build
Yeah.
a legacy. Right?
And I think that
And-
was a major shortcoming of FC Edmonton.
Yeah.
And I don't want to crap all over Don Fath. I know it was Fath. I think it was
Yeah,
Don
Fath Group, yeah.
It was the Fath brothers anyway. Now, full credit to them for doing it. But what Fath wanted more than anything was a kids' academy. That was his goal. Most professional teams start up and then create an academy so that they can feed players into the
team.
have a training system.
Right.
Fath did it the other way around. He was a passionate believer in kids soccer. And so he wanted to create an academy, but he knew he needed a place for those kids to graduate to.
Right.
So he created a professional team, but it was to support his academy.
Right.
It was the academy.
Not
was,
the academy supporting the team.
yeah, the academy was always the main effort for Fath. And so Fath really didn't want the burden of running that or funding that professional team. And he tried very hard to make it a feeder team or a farm team to Vancouver Whitecaps,
Yeah.
which to me was a fatal mistake. Because in order to be a successful farm team, your community has to see itself as subordinate to another community.
Right.
There is no way in hell fans in Edmonton are going to see themselves as subordinate to Vancouver.
Yeah,
they
it's not-
just won't.
Yeah. Especially that, right? Like if it was
Because
pick.
on different levels.
because using the example of AAA baseball
Yep.
instead, right? Like the Trappers,
Yep.
whose system were they in?
For a while, like teams in California, I think.
Yeah. They weren't on the Angels. The Angels
yeah, I think
system,
we
but
were the
but
Angels. Yeah.
Were we the Angels? Yeah, because the universe were the Angels. Anyway, but yeah, you could see okay,
And in a
Right.
sport like baseball,
Yeah.
sure. I mean, the Americans, it's a huge thing. It's
right,
not
and
here.
and it's
You know,
again
we get it.
there's all
Yeah.
that cultural stuff like especially like Bull Durham, right? Which
Yeah.
is,
Yep, totally. But and maybe you might get away with that in basketball.
Well, yeah.
probably yeah,
But again, if we were going
because
to
you have
say
those big established leagues.
Edmonton Stingers are going to be a farm team for like a big, like say Boston, that would work. Because, we get it. Basketball's not really our thing. It's huge in American cities. Okay, yeah, sure.
We don't, and Edmontonians aren't going to mind being.
No.
Really? We're the farm system for LA? We're the
Yeah.
farm system for Boston?
In
Cool.
basketball?
Right?
Sure. Are we going to consent to be the farm system of a
For Vancouver,
Canadian city?
No, absolutely no
hell
way.
No, because we
absolutely not.
because we hate them in hockey.
Yeah.
Well, we don't consider ourselves a subordinate community.
Yeah.
And likewise, Edmonton would never support a farm team in hockey to
No.
an American city.
No.
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 Well, no,
Not
because we have 5 Stanley Cups for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
like,
Let's-
no,
let's
sorry.
not be silly here.
Hockey is our game. We are not subordinate to any.
We've been to 8 finals.
Yeah.
We've won
It's not gonna
5 of them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
Now,
that's-
if Red Deer would do that, Red Deer could
Yeah, sure.
support the farm team for a major Canadian city.
Mm-hmm.
Saskatoon can support the farm team for a major Canadian city. Yeah, they can do that stuff.
Saskatoon could. I don't know if Red Deer's big enough.
Well, Red Deer Rebels.
Who are they?
They're a Western Hockey League.
There was some
I
hockey.
guess,
Yep.
yeah.
And Saskatoon Blades. Like they're very successful.
That's true. Yeah. You're right.
Franchises.
Never mind.
You know, so
I retract my comment.
it works. But there is no way that Calgary would support a farm team from Montreal. There is no way.
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean,
Not a chance. Not a chance that Winnipeg is going to support a farm team for Ottawa. Ain't going to happen.
No.
Now, would Victoria support a farm team for Vancouver? I think you could. I think that would work.
yeah.
Because in a lot of ways, Victoria and Vancouver kind of are almost the same community. Almost. They're very closely linked. They identify with each other. Maybe that would work.
Well, and
Maybe.
Victoria does have a past. They had a WHA team.
Yeah. And maybe, I think you could have, say, Mississauga or North York be a farm team for a Toronto team
Yeah.
because it's kind of within the same community. You're going to get Hamilton to be a farm team for Toronto?
Well, fuck no.
Good luck. If you suggest that, I'll tell you what, go have your press conference in Hamilton. I will be outside. The door will be open. The engine will be running because you are going to be 10 feet ahead of the lynch mob of steel counters who are going to string you up.
Hamilton is perennially,
A rival to Toronto.
they want to be the next NHL franchise.
Yeah.
Right.
But they don't see themselves as a subordinate community
Well,
to
no.
anybody. So I think, number one, that was Fath's big mistake. He didn't want the burden of running a pro team. He just wanted a kids' academy. And I think by trying to obviously subordinate it to another community, I think that was his mistake. What he should have done is go to Red Deer. Set up his academy in Red Deer or set up his academy in Grand Prairie into a second tier, a smaller, I shouldn't say it because that now I'm trashing Grand Prairie and Red Deer and I don't mean to. But like say a smaller, go to a community that is big enough to support kids sports, but not big enough to support a professional team and run it out of there. Because you could set up a farm team for Vancouver in Grand Prairie.
Yeah, but
that would work.
You've already hit the nail on the head. What he should have been doing was not prioritizing the academy over the team. Do it the other way around,
Or
as
found
intended.
partners. Yeah,
and
found a
then
partner
and then
to run the pro team.
Edmonton starts becoming a team that moves up in leagues and gets
Yeah.
a fan base that people take seriously. I had a sidebar question. Did Alphonso Davies come through that academy?
I don't believe he did.
Okay.
I don't believe he did. I think he came up.
He was just
through a
scouted.
different-
He was-
he came up through a different, like a separate group in Edmonton Youth Soccer. Could be Ital system, Ital Canadians. I don't know. But yeah, I don't believe he did come up through the FC Edmonton Academy.
Interesting.
And he was scouted from a very early age, like his early teens.
So, quick question. We seem to have generically, like we do, created our subject for the day.
Yeah,
Yes.
well,
You have been recording all this, right?
oh, I was supposed to record? No. I was going to say, thanks for tuning in to CRFO 49.0 on your FM dial, Sports Talk Radio.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Steve. This is boring as hell for you. Okay, so you know what?
We've been doing that for
Trent
an hour
and
now.
we're gonna take this offline.
This was going to be. This was actually just going to be a clip that I was recording it, and now I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is the episode.
Well, this is
Wait,
this
it's
is
half
good.
the episode. What time is it?
11, quarter after 11.
Okay, tell you what.
Okay,
Let's,
well,
let's,
we haven't quite used up half the time.
Sports Talk, man. I was part of me. You guys are going through this, and I'm like, we just need to do another podcast straight on football.
So I'll tell you
On
what.
sports.
Let's. I do want to carry on this conversation because I am kind of passionate about it, but I guess it's going to have to be for another time or offline or something like that, where it'll just be the you and me going on this, and Steve goes to get groceries or something like that because he's bored out of his mind. So let's put a cap on this, and we'll revisit this later, and then you can kind of edit out so end of this episode and post it separately. And now let's get to the actual news of the day.
All right.
Yeah, let's stop for a dart. Put a pin in this. It's done. It's over. I promise I won't talk about soccer anymore. And then after the break, we'll talk about some more pressing issues.
All right.
Go Spain.